Hi guys, so I'm going to show you how the image component works for your Flutter app and how you can use images to make your Flutter app look beautiful. Let's start. Okay, so first of all, the image, we just use the image widget just like that. Image component, and there it is. So as you can see, this is image, and this image, if you hover above it, just like any other Flutter component, you see that they have all these attributes, so you can check to see how these attributes will work for you, right? Then it will take image, which it also tells you the type, which is an image provider here, and this network image is the type of image provider, so you can check also the other types of image providers that are there. So from network image, basically, as its name suggests, we are taking an image from like an internet source or whatever. So it's a string, as you can see. It takes a string URL, then scale, then headers. So basically this is it. I'll just take my logo on Facebook from Fungo Geeks so that I can just show you. Okay, so this is my logo. As you can see, quite a bunch of numbers there. Yeah, so this is my logo on Facebook, and if I reload, as you can see, there we go. It just comes out nicely, and it's pretty simple. As you just like to merge this with another component which is just the same as this one, which requires network image. So instead of saying network image here, we'll just say Image.network. As you can see, it already gives you a bunch of options there. And so once we do this, if you hover above it, you see it takes source, which is the string, then keys and scales and heights and widths and all that. As you can see, I'll just remove this. It will just give me the same thing, but for effect purposes, I'll just do this so that you can see that it actually changed. Okay, then reload, then voila. So basically, Image.network versus the one you are getting from a provider, which is the image, then taking the image from a provider. This is just the same. Now let's move on to Image.assets, which requires us to put images in our assets folder, just like we did for fonts in one of the previous tutorials. Okay, so if you have been following from our previous tutorials on Flutter this week, you will notice that we have these assets here from a tutorial which we made on texts. We put these fonts here. You can check it. It will pop out somewhere on your screen. And we have these images, the BG, which is the Mfungo Geeks background, which is this one, but it's a bit different, it's portrait. Then this is the logo for Mfungo Geeks right there. So these assets are already in this assets folder. So you don't need to name the folder assets. You can name it whichever name you want. You can put whatever name you want. I just call it assets because it corresponds to what we put in there, but you can name it whatever you want, images, etc., and just reference it as it is. Now, after doing this, after putting images in your assets folder or whichever folder you want, you then go here under the Flutter section in your pubspec. You just paste this assets, then put an array with the location for your assets or your images, basically. So if your folder's name is images, you just say images here. If your folder's name is whatever, you just say whatever here, so that it references that. So once you do this, then you then run your pubspec file. Then once you run your pubspec file, you then go back here. Now instead of saying Image.network, you say Image.assets, because this time it's not coming from your network, it's coming from the assets. It already gives you a name here, which if you hover above here, that's the name string for the name or where the name of the image which you want to reference, then all these other attributes. So here on the name, I'll just say assets, because that's where it's coming from, right? The folder name, assets. Then I'll say, let's just take bg.png. It's a bit different from this one, so let's just see how it comes out. Then load. There we go. So it's as easy as that. Let's say logo here. And there we go. Okay, so this is how we get images from assets. Now, one thing to note before I proceed any further is there are other attributes which might be of interest to you. For example, the width, the height. These are important because these actually may help you in controlling the size of your image. So for example, if I say 50, it will be pretty small, and as you can see, there it is. So basically you can do this, but of course, as in the previous tutorial where we mentioned responsive text, obviously you shouldn't necessarily do this because it will be even smaller on other screens. So you have to put something like height times 0.2, maybe just 20%. If you want it to be like proportional in dimensions, then just put 0.2 as well. Then it looks nicer like that. So basically these are things you need to know. Things which are more important. Of course, you can look at, there are a variety of attributes there which you can look at and actually get to see, but one which we want to use is this one, which is the fit. So fit, if I put 20% of the height like this, there are some images which don't fit there. Like for example, let me just show you this image BG, because it's a bit bigger. If I say .fill, it will fill which the container in its entirety, right? So there, as you can see, it's stretched a bit, so it will fill the 20%, it will fill everything. It's sort of the equivalent of resize mode in React Native. So this is more like resizing your image to just fit into the container which you might want. Okay, so now let's look at Image.memory. So we'll start off by doing this. This is where the bytes for the image that we'll get from an asset will be stored. So we'll reference this image data. This is where Image.memory will get its data from. Once we do this, we then put a function like this. Then inside this function, we'll then put this, and root bundle will just take it from services like that. So basically this data is being loaded from one of our assets here, bg.png. So just taking it, it's taking it from the bundle that's bundled up for the app, then converting it into bytes, and then we need to store those bytes here inside the image data. So what we'll say here is set state, then we'll say image data is equal to data, then we are done like this. So obviously now we need to make sure that this function runs the moment the application starts. So we'll put init state, then this function get image data will run as soon as the app initializes. Then set the image data with the data for that BG, that asset. Now we'll then go down here, then we'll say, instead of asset, we'll say memory. Then memory doesn't take a string, as you can see here, it takes bytes, and these are the bytes which we saved here inside image data, right? So we just say image data. But what we need to make sure here is that image data is not now at the start, because it will be now at the very start. So if it's now, it will show an error. But in this case, we just want to handle that error before we even get it. So if it's now, it will just show an empty container. Then if it's not, then it will get from the image. So let's restart, because we put a lot of functions there, and see. Okay, so we restarted, and as you can see, it shows. Of course, this is pretty much the same image as this one, so you won't see anything. But if we change this and put logo, which is a different image, because this logo image is the white image, so you will be able to see that. And let's restart so the function can reload. There we go. So getting an image from a file is pretty simple as well. Let's just remove all these methods for the memory. Now once we do this, we just change to file. Then here we'll put the file location so that it can appear on your application. So we'll just do that. Just copy this. This we imported from .io. Then this is basically the storage of your internal storage of your device. So storage emulated 0. Then this is where the folder structure starts. So sometimes it's documents, downloads, etc. Wherever your image is from here. This is the root 0. Then the folder image. Then my image.jpg. In this case, I just used a random example because I'm using a simulator here. It doesn't have any any images from that storage, such that if we run here, it won't show anything. But in your case, you can test it on your real device, and you'll be able to see that this actually gives results. So that's how you implement Image.file. In other cases, you can convert an image from assets to a file, just as we did with memory as well. But it's not always that you just need to do. Okay, so this is the end of our tutorial on how to implement images on your applications and make them look nice. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you stay tuned. Peace.